Hey, it's Tony Brueski, and this is our week in review over the weekend, taking a look back at some of the most compelling conversations and stories that we've covered for you of the last week. Brand new episodes back Monday morning, bright and early, 5 a.m. here on the podcast.
This is the Hidden Killers Podcast with Tony Brueski.
Featuring defense attorney, Hidden Killers daily contributor, and host of the Defense Diaries podcast, Bob Motta.
Talking the Delphi murders right now. Was this the work of a man out on a walk that decided to kill some kids one day? Was this a ritual sacrifice by Odinists searching for blood to give to their god? It's a twisted story. Bob Motta with us to discuss.
The concept that it was a ritual sacrifice, I reject that as well. I don't think that's what it was. I think that it was something else. And they did these ritualistic things with these runes and the F, if you want to say, and now there's pictures of the F on the tree that have surfaced, and now people are arguing, is it blood spatter or is it an intentional F? I'm not going to get into the arguments.
Sure.
I just know that the defense has a duty, an ethical duty to not go in and flat out lie in pleadings. I know that they had their eyes on the crime scene photos. I know that these are not going to turn out to be just huge bundles of sticks that were used to try to hide the girls. I think that which gets us to the point of that motion. Mm-hmm. And that motion was relating to the professor. Okay. The mystery professor.
Yes.
And they give a lot of dates in there, and they talk about how they were deposing people and how they were deposing one of the troopers. And this trooper was the guy that was saying, oh, I don't know his name. He might not be in the country anymore. I couldn't get any information. They then find an email in the discovery from the trooper to the professor saying, hey, I know it's been 3 or 4 weeks, which predates when they spoke to the trooper, they being the defense. So they've got an issue there. So clearly he did know who the professor was, and for whatever reason is not giving him the name.
Yeah.
Which to me is suspicious.
Very.
Like, why aren't you? It's one thing to say, look, we went to this professor. He knew a little bit, but he wasn't exceptionally knowledgeable. He called his buddy from Harvard who knew more about runes. He was slightly more knowledgeable, and he agreed that it looked like somebody was attempting to make runes and that it was not just a bunch of bundles of sticks hidden on trying to hide the girls. But they could have said, look, we, based on those two guys saying that, we didn't buy it. And that's a investigative decision. Instead, what they decide to do is pretend like it didn't exist and then try to hide the guy, which to me is just bizarre. I mean, like, all I care about in this case, Tony, is getting those girls justice. And the only way we do that is to get the right guy or guys, period. If it's Richard Allen and they've got evidence, good. Let's get them convicted.
Yeah.
And if it's these other guys, let's continue the investigation, which, interestingly enough, the defense states in their motion that they believe that they have reopened the investigation in light of the fact that they have in their possession multiple interviews with 3 of the 4 named individuals in the memo that all took place as late as August 23rd of this year. It would sure indicate to me, since Richard Allen is in custody and has been since October, almost 12 months, well, 12 months in 2 weeks, I think it will be a year, that it seems like they are reopening the investigation. I mean, why else are you contacting these guys?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I think there needs to be transparency. And I think we just need to, I'm done bickering with people on Twitter. If people are not going to read the memo and they're just going to dismiss it offhand because people are saying, oh, it's like a horror novel or whatever, I reject that. I just do. Because at the end of the day, the girls deserve justice and they deserve a full investigation. And these guys, there were just some very damning statements.
Yeah. And
I don't care if this guy, one of the guys, he's got the mental intellect of a 7-year-old. He's got some kind of deficiency mentally. And they're trying to say, okay, well, that's why he put himself on the scene spitting on one of the girls. I reject that notion as well. I think that he'd be more inclined to tell the truth than some kind of elaborate lie if he's got that kind of mental capacity. So whatever the case may be, it deserves to be looked at, period. No one can tell me anything else that's going to change my mind on that. If we're trying to get to the truth, everything has to be looked at. Like people being sold on Richard Allen, it can only be based on one thing, Tony, and that's the PCA. And that PCA was thin.
Yeah, very.
It put him in. So So that's basically what's going on with it. That's what my feelings are. And did these guys do it? I don't know. But what I do know is it needs to be looked at way harder than it was.
Yeah.
Because they gave up on that angle 3 weeks in, and they landed on some guy 5 years later who, frankly, to me, does not fit.
Want to listen ad-free? Want advanced access to all of our interviews before anyone else?
Become a True Crime Today Premium Plus subscriber on Apple Podcasts.
You get every episode commercial-free.
So you can binge on true crime
until you can binge no more.
Search True Crime Today Premium Plus on Apple Podcasts now, or go to our podcast page and sign up now.
More of the Hidden Killers podcast next.